Thanks very much, Justin, and thank you, Joe, for teaming me up in your presentation. I want to discuss the importance of measurement in the context of marketing waste. Although it was as head of media at Lidl that I got to grips with the problem, any brand would benefit from more simplicity and efficiency in their digital marketing. But this ambition runs counter to the sheer complexity of the digital landscape. It takes time, people, and technology to unpick it. And when you do unpick it, you do discover the issue of waste in digital is not restricted to just viewability, brand safety, and an opaque supply chain. It's also created by poor quality audience data. Next slide, please. The idea of digital precision is based on the assumption that we can target very specific audience groups. The quality of second and third party data underpinning those audiences is highly variable. To illustrate this, just look at your Google ad settings and see who Google thinks you are. In my case, it's got my age, gender, and business interests spot on. The vast majority of data about my supposed interests is completely wrong, and advertisers are buying it from Google, Facebook, publishers, and a plethora of third-party data sources. All those sources need to be properly measured, and the advertiser is the one who needs to drive this forward. There's a simple factor that everyone else profits from wasted impressions. Next slide, please. The advertiser must appoint the right measurement partners directly and use them to understand and address the issue. It can't be delegated to the agency, but the agency should look to help solve the problem by working with those measurement partners to better interrogate data and inventory quality. And they should rethink their remuneration models to better reflect the work they do in reducing digital waste. Because only when everyone's profit is found in quality rather than impression volume will we solve this problem. Thank you.
Fantastic, Sam. Amazing talk. 99 seconds, bang on time. So let's have a little chat. We've got a few minutes left. We're slightly over time, but there's questions coming in. This question here from Warren. I think this goes back to Valentina's presentation at the start of the day. Warren says, what's your view on the death of the third-party cookie? You've been around, Sam, like you've seen it all. What do you think is going to happen?
Do you know, I have to say, I think the death of the third-party cookie isn't all a bad thing at all. I think what we'll end up with is a web of, it's going to be very good quality logged in information, and the rest of it will be kind of pretty much the open exchange, and it'll be much more around contextual placement. What we'll kind of end up with is moving away from this illusion of how data and cookie data can help us to be very targeted, and moving back towards actually really thinking carefully about the context and the broad kind of audiences which different publishers are going to be reaching. In that sense, it's actually going to be great news for publishers as well, because it really favours those publishers which have got fantastic good quality content and very strong scale audiences at scale and good data on their own audiences as well. I think where we're currently going is there's an awful lot of money going towards this long tail of publishers, and that's not necessarily the best context for brands to be seen in.
Perfect. Question from Vanessa, quite amusingly. She says, I heard you talk very interestingly on in-housing, and that's still a big trend. What's your view on it now? That might be, Sam, when you and I talked back at John's Spreadback Punch a year or so ago. So what's your view on in-housing now?
I think it's for every brand, it's going to be a slightly different situation they're faced with. And there's no one size fits all. The one thing that every brand really needs to do is to in-house strategic decision making. Yes, use agencies and consultants to help to arrive at the right kind of strategic direction. But really that decision is the advertisers, and they need to make sure they've got the right partners in place in order to make sure they've got a well-informed strategic direction and they're measuring the effectiveness of their investment properly. In terms of what else do you in-house after that, it's very much dependent on what type of brand you are, headcount, and the flexibility to increase resource and so on. But yeah, I think that should always be the starting point. After that, there's definite advantages and disadvantages of what kind of tasks that you bring in-house. I think there's an awful lot of kind of mixed results that advertisers have had from bringing that in-house. Whether it actually delivers significant return on investment will very much depend on the type of brand.
Perfect. Now, I think we're going to move on. That's the end of your slot. Sam, thank you so much. Great to see you. Thanks for your time. Thank you so much.
Very much.